Welcome to Teaching Truth. From 1979 to 1992, our summer holidays in August every year were spent by going to South Devon, to Torbay to be precise. Torbay is famous, of course, for its palm trees and, of course, the mouth-watering Devon cream teas. We went to the same hotel every year, the Glencoe Hotel on the Esplanade on the seafront in Paignton. We went on the same steam train every year. We went to the same place on the beach every year. We went to the same model village every year, etc., etc., etc. In a way, we became too comfortable. We enjoyed, perhaps too much in retrospect and with hindsight, the place that we were in. We needed to break camp and explore new geography. And in an altogether different sense, the Israelites needed to break camp and explore new physical as well as spiritual geography. They had become too comfortable, as it were, in the Glencoe Hotel of the desert. That was the challenge to the Israelites, to break camp, to stop going round and round in circles. They had become too comfortable in their desert experience. They needed now to explore new geography. And the challenge to you and to I in our Christian lives is not to be like the Israelites who became comfortable and who enjoyed where they were. And we can become very comfortable even in the desert of life. No, the challenge to us is to be those who are exploring new spiritual geography, who are not content with the status quo, but are responsive to the prompting and the leading of the Holy Spirit. To allow God to take us into new areas of mission and ministry. When I look at Israel's wilderness journey, it's laughable in one sense, and in another sense you see the stupidity of it. They wandered around the same mountain, the same desert area for almost 40 years. I mean, how thick were they? Could they not understand what God had already done for them? After all, he was the one who had provided manna in the desert, water from the rock, who had brought them through the Red Sea. They had failed to reach the promised land. There were hindrances to their moving on. See, it had nothing to do with bad leadership, not that Moses was a bad leader. It had nothing to do with the lack of opportunity. It had nothing to do with their lack of ability. It had nothing to do with not having a God-given direction. But it was everything to do with the hindrances that they had within their own lives to moving on. There are many things that we can have in our lives that can hinder us, like the Israelites, from moving on, that can cause us to become comfortable. See, all the Israelites could see was their limitations. They were a negative people, a glass half empty people. They were ready to give up easily. They almost preferred bondage. They always preferred the dryness of the desert to the milk and honey of the promised land. Can you see how laughable and how stupid those people, in a sense, were? If we think that we have a bleak future, or the future isn't bright, then we tend to default to and glorify the past, don't we? And that was true of Israel, because they longed for the good old days. Numbers 14, 2-4. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? Well, too often the past and the present take control of the future, and that was certainly true for the Israelites. And it can certainly be true for us, because we can sometimes hold on to that which we have and which we are comfortable with, particularly in our materialistic society, rather than entrust our future to God. Sometimes we're scared to take that step of faith because we are within our own comfort zone. And God challenges us, as he did the Israelites, to break camp and advance. We are to break camp, not to be comfortable in the camp, but to break camp and advance. I remember back in the early months of 2003 when I was in Ayr Baptist Church, and twice, and I say this with sincerity, God spoke to me through two different experiences and challenged me to break camp and advance by moving to the daughter church of Ayr Baptist Church, Southside Christian Fellowship. And such was the tug that I felt within my spirit. And after much prayer and after much reflection, I could not resist that tug. I had to break camp, difficult though it was, out of my comfort zone and advance. Now, the blessing of that, the blessing of breaking camp, was that within 3 months of making that move, I met my future wife. Now, read into that what you will, but I believe that God honours obedience. And when we take that step, he brings us to the promised land, the land that he wants to take us to, the land flowing with milk and honey. You see, although God had promised his people, the Israelites, a land of blessing, they were far too comfortable in the wilderness. It was an 11-day journey, remember, from the wilderness into the promised land, less than 2 weeks. But 40 years later, because of the comfort that the Israelites had, they were still camped in the desert. Today, what's holding you back from discovering your God-given destiny? Don't be like the Israelites. Don't become comfortable in the camp. Break camp and advance.